Something about this story never sat right. Not the timing, not the connections, and definitely not the people involved. At a moment when global politics are already boiling over, wars, alliances, pressure from every direction, a completely unexpected overlap quietly surfaced. Politics, faith, influence, and a network no one thought belonged anywhere near each other, because somehow, Turning Point, powerful overseas donors, and a controversial spiritual movement ended up crossing paths in a way that still hasn't been fully explained. And the deeper people look, the stranger it gets. It started with growth that felt too fast. Turning Point's expansion overseas, especially in the UK, didn't follow the usual slow, messy path most grassroots movements do. One minute, events were being held in small university halls. The next, there were red carpets, celebrity guests, private security, and high-end venues. This wasn't just momentum, it looked engineered. At first, supporters celebrated it. International reach meant influence. Influence meant power. And power meant the message was spreading. But behind the scenes, people began quietly asking the same question. Who was funding all of this? Because money always leaves a trail. And when people followed it, certain names kept appearing. That's when John and Ira Mappin entered the conversation. These weren't background donors or silent supporters. They were hands-on. They helped build infrastructure, organize events, and connect Turning Point UK to elite social and media circles. Their presence wasn't subtle. They were visible. In photos, at events, even at memorials. And that visibility is exactly what made people curious about their background. Because the Mappins weren't just wealthy supporters with political interests. They were publicly tied to a belief system that felt completely out of place in a movement built on Christian conservative values. A system known for its own language, hierarchy, and influence strategies. And that's where things began to feel off. Clips started resurfacing. Interviews, talks, social posts. John Mappin openly discussing ideas like spiritual technology, energy, and higher truth. He praised something called Dianetics, calling it a powerful tool for personal clarity and freedom. To some, it sounded harmless. Self-help, motivation, personal growth. But to others, it raised a serious question. Why was language associated with an entirely different belief system appearing inside a movement founded on biblical principles? Charlie Kirk was known for his Christian faith, scripture, traditional values. So when phrases like vibrational power and spiritual enlightenment started showing up around Turning Point UK events, longtime supporters noticed immediately. And once people noticed, they couldn't unsee it. Former volunteers and insiders began whispering that meetings felt different, less political, more philosophical, less about policy, more about consciousness and personal transformation. Some even claimed it felt closer to a spiritual workshop than a strategy session. Whether those claims are exaggerated or not, one thing is clear. The tone had shifted. And that's when a much darker theory began circulating online. Critics of Scientology have long claimed the organization uses detailed personal disclosures as leverage. Information gathered under the promise of self-improvement, later used to maintain loyalty and silence. Those claims are disputed, but they've existed for decades. So when people noticed individuals with known ties to that world gaining influence inside Turning Point UK, speculation exploded. Was this just ideological crossover? Or was it something more strategic? And then another name kept surfacing alongside the Mappins, Erika Kirk. At first, her role seemed distant from the controversy. Publicly, she remained careful, quiet, measured. But internet investigators began pulling old photos, timelines, and travel records. Images from Jerusalem, private gatherings, overlapping social circles. People revisited her origin story. The airport meeting, the chance encounter, the rapid rise. What once sounded like coincidence now felt unusually convenient. No proof, no smoking gun, just questions that wouldn't go away. And then came the detail that stopped people cold. According to claims shared by Candace Owens, a set of unidentified cell phones was reportedly detected near Utah Valley University on the day Charlie was killed. Not one, not two, 12. Those claims have not been independently verified. But the number alone was enough to send social media into a frenzy, because coordinated activity leaves patterns, and patterns invite scrutiny. Shortly after, Jaguar Wright added fuel to the fire, calling for deeper investigation into what she described as a tangled web of political influence, spiritual power, and internal betrayal. She framed it not as certainty, but as something that deserved serious examination. And suddenly, the story wasn't just about donors or ideology. It was about access. Who had it? Who controlled it? And who benefited from it? John Mappin's response only intensified the reaction. When pressed online about his beliefs and involvement, he didn't distance himself. Instead, he shared a video directly connected to Scientology's official messaging, describing Dianetics as a secret weapon for the freedom movement. The comment section erupted. Some saw it as honesty. Others saw it as confirmation. Either way, it raised an unavoidable question. Why would someone publicly promote that belief system while being so deeply embedded in a Christian-based political organization? That contradiction sits at the heart of this entire controversy. Because organizations built on influence don't need everyone to agree. They just need access to the right people. And critics argue that Scientology has historically focused on power, status, and reach, not numbers. Former members describe a long game, quiet positioning, strategic relationships, influence built slowly, behind the scenes. So when people look back at how Turning Point UK developed, the funding, the messaging shift, the elite connections, they wonder whether Charlie fully understood who he was trusting. Some online believe he began questioning it, that he felt uneasy about how much control certain donors seemed to have, that he didn't have time to fully pull away. Others think he never saw it coming. What makes the situation even more unsettling is the silence that followed. Few clear answers, carefully worded statements, denials without explanations, and a growing sense that too many people know more than they're saying. Supporters of the Mappins insist the accusations are unfair, that their beliefs are personal, that their intentions were philanthropic, and that coincidence is being mistaken for conspiracy. But skeptics push back with the same point every time. Coincidences don't repeat this often. They don't involve the same names, the same places, the same language, and the same power circles over and over again. And they definitely don't leave this many unanswered questions. At the center of it all remains a movement, a legacy, and a man whose vision may have been shaped by forces he never intended to invite in. Whether this was manipulation, infiltration, or simply a catastrophic overlap of influence, the truth hasn't fully surfaced yet. And until it does, the speculation will continue. Because when faith, politics, and power collide behind closed doors, the real story usually stays hidden the longest. And something about this one still doesn't feel finished.